March 20th, 1995, Central Tokyo. 5 separate men board 5 separate subway trains at 7:45 a.m. Rush hour. When the clock strikes 8 a.m., each one of them pierces a plastic bag using the sharp tip of an umbrella. The fellow passengers in each of the subway trains look on bemused, not knowing what to make of this. Little do they know that each of these packages contains 900 milliliters of sarin, one of the deadliest nerve agents known to man, which was first mass-produced by the Nazis during World War II. Sarin can cause respiratory paralysis and a very painful death in a matter of minutes. Very soon, chaos ensues in the busiest subway system in the world. Some commuters are dead, and thousands are rushed to the hospital in what becomes one of the darkest days in modern Japanese history. The group which was responsible for this terrorist attack? A religious cult named Aum Shinrikyo. Investigations would later find that this group, which boasted of tens of thousands of followers, including some of the brightest minds in Japan, had stockpiled chemical and biological weapons and even tried to acquire nuclear weapons. They had their sights set on bringing about a global apocalypse to fulfill the prophecy of their partially blind leader, Shoko Asahara, and they were acquiring the resources necessary to achieve their goal. This is the story of the world's most deranged cult, their audacious attempt to overthrow the Japanese government, and how dangerously close they came to succeeding. When one thinks of religious con men and deranged cults, Japan is the last country that comes to mind. Yet, despite having one of the most advanced societies in the world, back in the 1990s, the East Asian giant was the epicenter for the most dangerous cult the modern world has ever seen. The man behind the movement is the now infamous Shoko Asahara, who was born on March 2nd, 1955, with the birth name Chizuo Matsumoto. He brainwashed thousands with a perverse system of spiritual superiority and convinced his extremely loyal followers that the only way to save the world was to end it. Chizuo Matsumoto was born to a family of tatami mat makers in Kumamoto Prefecture. He had infantile glaucoma from birth, which meant that he lost all sight in his left eye and was partially blind in his right eye. He was enrolled in a school for the blind at 6 years of age, and he never lived with his family again. From a young age, Matsumoto exhibited manipulative and psychopathic tendencies. Due to having partial sight in one eye, he learned to control his fully blind classmates. He would often bully them, extort money from them, and would even make them hit each other. Even as a child, Matsumoto was extremely ambitious. He confided in his schoolmates about his fantasy of ruling a kingdom of robots with total power, and about his aspirations to be the Prime Minister of Japan one day. When Matsumoto graduated, he became an acupuncturist, a common career choice for the blind in Japan. Soon, he opened a store in Tokyo that sold Chinese herbal medicine, quickly developing a talent for deceiving customers and selling snake oil. Matsumoto made a lot of money by selling fake medicine, but the law would soon catch up to him. He gets caught, convicted of selling unregulated drugs, and serves a jail sentence. Over the next few years, Matsumoto developed a penchant for meditation, yoga, and studied Eastern philosophy and the world's religions. With newfound confidence, Matsumoto decides to start a new business, a yoga school and a publishing company. Matsumoto grows out his hair and beard and adopts the name Shoko Asahara. Starting in 1984, Asahara made several pilgrimages to India, where he claims to have met with the Dalai Lama. He later tells his followers that during those pilgrimages, he managed to achieve enlightenment and met Lord Shiva, one of the principal deities in Hinduism. He claims he was given a special mission to preach real Buddhism in Japan. Asahara becomes a guru, and he combines his skills of marketing and deception with his knowledge of spirituality to develop his own perverse religion, mixing some Buddhist and Hindu concepts with a dose of apocalyptic Christianity. Doctored photos, showing him levitating, appear in magazines. He does TV interviews and radio shows where he tells the world that a deity appeared before him and told him that he is the god of light, who would usher in the holy kingdom of Shambhala through a final war to end all darkness. His media campaign soon starts paying off as he accumulates followers. Asahara becomes well known as a guru, and his ambitions grow. That is when he starts a new religious group, Aum Shinrikyo, which translates to Supreme Truth. Asahara sets a lofty goal of building a new Japanese civilization after Armageddon, and in the service of that goal, he recruits some of the best minds in Japan into his cult. He surrounds himself with scientists and targets youth from the elite Japanese universities. In his talks at universities, Asahara crafts speeches that blend his own perverse form of spirituality with science, which strikes a chord with some young people. In the minds of some of his followers, Asahara becomes nothing less than a god, and his charismatic speeches and the deceptive images of him levitating add to his mystique. As Aum Shinrikyo grew in strength, power, and influence, they stepped up their recruitment drive, specifically targeting the disaffected youth in Japanese society. The cult would use sexual advertisements to target lonely young men and use flirtatious women to answer their calls. While the majority would ignore Aum Shinrikyo's advances, a small proportion would attend Asahara's talks. Once they got people attending the talks, the next step would be to convert them into samanas, or loyal members. They would be told that the samanas could unlock supernatural abilities such as mind reading, levitation, and telepathy, and only they could truly join the master, Asahara. However, to become a samana, they would have to completely cut themselves off from their regular lives and relinquish all their worldly possessions. They would have to sever all ties with their friends, family, and work, and would need to donate all of their material possessions and property to Aum Shinrikyo. During the initiation ceremony to become a samana, they would be administered LSD and made to participate in mass prayer ceremonies. They would be locked in small rooms for weeks, perform long hours of meditation and breathing exercises, and partake in heavy, unpaid labor. As part of their training, samanas would often be deprived of sleep, exposed to hot and freezing cold water, and even made to hang upside down for anywhere between minutes and hours. They were told that this was the only way to rid themselves of bad karma. As Asahara's army of samanas grew, so did the audacity of his goals and his messages. By the late 1980s, he would start preaching to his loyal followers that they, and only they, could get rid of the bad karma of the world's population and turn the planet into a utopian paradise. Aum Shinrikyo would soon start acquiring large swaths of land and building small, isolated communities, which were completely cut off from the rest of society. These villages were supposed to be models for a new world civilization. As Asahara's power grew, he started reiterating the message that everyone outside Aum Shinrikyo was infected with bad karma and would suffer in the afterlife if they were to die. He preached that Aum's members are spiritually superior, equipped with the ability to cleanse the souls of those outside the cult. And how do they cleanse the karma of those on the outside? By killing them. Ashara told his followers that they would be doing normal folk a favor by murdering them, as they would be preventing them from an eternity of suffering in their afterlife. Asahara gave his followers a spiritual right to murder, and convinced them that it was their duty to save the world by ending it. Asahara was convinced that he was the second coming of Shiva, Christ, and other deities. His belief in his own divine nature and his feeling of infallibility grew as he kept getting away with increasingly pernicious acts. He ordered the killing of those who tried to leave the cult, or whistleblowers who attempted to expose their activities to the outside world. Then, Asahara decided to turn his power outward, threatening and even killing those who dared to take on Aum Shinrikyo. The cult's first victim in the outside world was a lawyer named Tsutsumi Sakamoto, who discovered that Aum seizes people's assets and holds them against their will. Sakamoto gives a radio interview where he exposes Aum's tactics, but the broadcaster is worried about being sued and decides to share the interview with Aum's senior figures before airing it. Just a few days later, a few of the cult's members pay a visit to Sakamoto's residence in the suburbs of Yokohama. At 3 a.m., They enter the home through an unlocked door. They hit Tsutsumi in the head with a hammer, inject him with potassium chloride, and strangle him. The men then also proceed to murder Tsutsumi's wife and his infant son. They remove all 3 bodies from the apartment. According to Asahara, this was a compassionate act from Aum, who rid the Sakamoto family of their bad karma by murdering them. After this episode, Asahara realized that he could kill without consequence, and there is no limit to what he could make his followers do. Asahara soon starts making apocalyptic predictions, convincing his followers that the end of the world was around the corner, prophesying global catastrophes and nuclear war. And he decided to take it upon himself to make sure that his visions came true. At this point, Aum was a very wealthy organization. Not only had they seized the properties of their tens of thousands of followers, but they also took advantage of their free labor to launch businesses, from restaurants to babysitting services and fitness clubs. They built a business empire, an international business empire. They purchased a sheep farm in Australia and tea plantations in Sri Lanka. Aum now had the necessary capital to pull off something unbelievably audacious, and they did not waste any time. In the early 1990s, Aum made attempts to acquire nuclear weapons, becoming one of the first non-state actors to attempt it. Senior Aum members would make regular trips to post-Soviet Russia and actively explored trying to get their hands on a warhead. They consulted Russian nuclear scientists to obtain laser and nuclear technologies and showed interest in purchasing fissile material. However, when nuclear weapons proved unattainable, Aum's leaders abandoned their nuclear aspirations and decided to focus on biological and chemical weapons. In Aum's main laboratory, around 100 scientists, including some of the brightest young minds in Japan, worked with equipment costing upwards of $30 million. And they had one goal: producing a biological or chemical weapon that could lead to mass destruction. The first terrorist attack Aum attempted involved a neurotoxic protein called botulinum toxin, which is produced by some forms of bacteria under low oxygen. It is one of the deadliest known substances, causing paralysis by blocking nerve signals to muscles. Aum's scientists harvested it from soil samples and produced batches using large cubic fermenters. After producing 50 batches, Aum mounted them on trucks, equipped with spraying devices, and released the toxin into the air in the areas surrounding the Japanese parliament and other government buildings. It was a terrorist attack aimed at creating mass hysteria and overthrowing the government. But the plan failed. There were no casualties. Aum discovered that spraying botulinum toxin was much more difficult than manufacturing it. But Aum would try 2 more attacks using the same toxin, one of which involved spraying it outside the imperial palace during the royal wedding of the Japanese crown prince. Once again, the attacks failed, but Aum did not give up. Over the subsequent months and years, they tested a wide range of chemical and biological weapons, including anthrax, chlorine gas, and nerve agents like phosgene and hydrogen cyanide. Asahara even sent doctors to Africa to bring back strains of Ebola, while they also experimented with cholera. But none of these yielded the results necessary to be effectively used in a mass terrorist attack. Except one: sarin. Sarin is one of the deadliest nerve agents created by man. Just 1 milliliter of sarin on the skin can be fatal, potentially causing death in minutes. In Asahara's mind, sarin had no equals. He ordered Aum's entire infrastructure to be channeled to the mass production of sarin. They first tested this chemical on a herd of sheep on the ranch they owned in Australia, and it was a major success. Then, Aum decided to move on to human trials. They targeted 3 lawyers who were fighting Aum in a real estate dispute. 2 Aum members pulled up in a van outside the building where the lawyers worked. Inside the van was a machine which, when switched on, vaporized 30 liters of sarin. The gas was directed via fans and sprayed through the side of the truck. All 30 liters of sarin flowed into the air, but a slight breeze shifted it away from the building where the lawyers were and into other neighboring homes. Sarin entered through the AC vents and open windows, and before long, 5 people would end up dead, none of whom were the 3 lawyers. While Aum failed to murder the lawyers, the operation was a clear success. with the gas being potent enough to kill people several tens of meters away. Asahara had seen enough. It was now time to mass-produce sarin. He ordered the production of 70 tons of sarin, enough to cause an unimaginable amount of damage if it were released in densely populated areas. They planned to release the whole load over Tokyo. But before they could do that, Aum made their first big mistake. There was a spill at their lab, and this led to complaints of a foul odor near Aum's headquarters. When the authorities tested the soil samples from the area, they were shocked to identify 2 compounds which directly pointed to the production of sarin. The media reported that it was suspiciously close to Aum's headquarters, and the top brass of Aum panicked. They ordered the immediate destruction of all their chemicals, including their stores of sarin. However, the police did not make a move. Given that Aum Shinrikyo had been granted religious status by the Japanese government, the authorities decided not to raid the organization without clear incriminating evidence. Despite their terrible misstep, Aum had gotten away scot-free. However, they would soon make another huge mistake, and this time, they would not be so lucky. Aum's members abducted a man whose sister had left the group. They wanted her back because she was wealthy. But her brother's abduction was witnessed by a bystander who reported the vehicle's license plate, which was traced to a member of Aum Shinrikyo. This, along with the soil samples, gave the authorities enough reason to raid the organization's headquarters. However, Aum were very well connected, and they were tipped off that a police raid was on its way. Asahara knew his time was running out, and he had to act fast. He ordered an attack on the Tokyo subway in 2 days. The Tokyo subway system is one of the busiest in the world, averaging around 2.3 billion rides per year. Almost a quarter of the city's residents use it every day. Asahara wanted to attack the nerve center of Tokyo and knew it would cripple the city. However, his team of scientists only had around 36 hours to prepare the required sarin, and in that time, they were able to produce just 10 liters. It was decided that this time they would not be using an unpredictable spraying device. Instead, they would use plastic bags and a sharpened umbrella to get the job done and ensure all of the sarin was fully discharged. At 8 a.m. on the 20th of March, 1995, just as the residents of Tokyo were on their commute to work, 5 Aum members, who had all been administered an antidote to sarin, boarded trains on 5 of the busiest routes in the Tokyo subway. They release around 900 milliliters of sarin each. Within seconds, the passengers in each of the carriages experienced difficulty breathing. They felt the air freezing in their chest, and within minutes, they experienced pain spreading through their bodies. Some of them thought they were having a heart attack, but they noticed that their fellow passengers were having similar difficulties. That is when it became clear that something had gone awfully wrong. The passengers realized that they had been the victims of a chemical attack. In many cases, the trains came to an emergency stop at the next station, and in one of the trains, the package was kicked outside onto the platform at a station. But it was already too late. 13 passengers wind up dead, and more than 6,000 are hospitalized as chaos engulfs Tokyo. Very quickly, it would become clear to the authorities that sarin was the cause, and within hours, the attack is traced back to Aum Shinrikyo. Just 2 days later, police would raid Aum's headquarters and all their settlements, and they were shocked to find the vast infrastructure dedicated to producing biological and chemical weapons. It would take a couple of months for the authorities to catch Asahara. He and 12 members of Aum's leadership were given the death penalty and eventually executed in 2018. While the attack was ghastly and went down as one of the darkest days in modern Japanese history, it is clear that it could have been much, much worse. Due to the 36-hour time constraint imposed by Asahara, who feared a police raid, Aum could only manufacture 10 liters of sarin for the attack. Additionally, the batch was nowhere near as pure as the ones they had made before. If Aum had not made a couple of small mistakes, they could have inflicted a death toll in the thousands. The organization had the resources and know-how to cause serious damage, and it was only due to a stroke of luck that they failed. It is tempting to view Aum as a deranged, irrational cult and see all of its members as crazy. But the uncomfortable truth is that most of its tens of thousands of members were normal people, and some of them were highly intelligent. This episode proves how easy it is for a charismatic and manipulative conman to fool large swaths of people. And make no mistake, it can happen again. If a highly educated and wealthy society like Japan can see the rise of such a deranged cult, it is possible anywhere. This phenomenon speaks to the increased alienation people are feeling in modern society, with everyone yearning for a purpose bigger than themselves, and that is what conmen, like Asahara, take advantage of. As the world advances technologically, it is becoming easier and easier for a small group of people to cause unfathomable damage. It is always going to be easier to break things than to fix them. If Aum had access to present-day technology and the reach of the internet, who knows how much damage they could have caused. This should be a sobering thought to all of us, and this episode and countless other examples in history should make us suspicious of anyone who claims they can solve all our problems, whether that be a politician, religious authority, or a thought leader. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. And if you want to learn more about such interesting topics and ideas, subscribe to the channel. We will continue bringing you stories that blow your mind, as the truth, as they say, is stranger than fiction.